Alright, let's talk about compound shapes and how to find the area of them. First of all, what are they? Alright, so compound shapes are shapes that are made up of two or more simple shapes glued together. Okay, get two rectangles, glue them together, get a triangle and three rectangles and glue them together, boom, you've got a compound shape. Or, as an alternative, one large simple shape with smaller shapes cut out. Now, just by that definition, if I'm gluing these shapes together, then that's going to be an addition process. I'm going to have simple ones that are glued together. Okay, but this one here, if I've got one big shape, cutting out smaller shapes, that's going to be subtraction. Okay, so just keep that in mind. One is addition, one subtraction. You've got to use the logic and look at how the shape is built. All right, so here's some steps. First of all, cut up the shape into simple shapes. Okay, so actually draw on the diagram the simple shapes and label them. Okay, so you actually call it shape 1, shape 2, shape 3. Okay, then you'll need to make sure you've got all the dimensions you need. So you look in at the little shapes that you've just divided up into and say, right, what do I need to figure this out? I need this side. How do I figure that out? Okay, so identify all needed dimensions. All right, so you might need to do a little bit of maths there to figure out what sides are what. Thirdly, find the area of each small shape. And finally, add up or subtract depending on which of these it is. Alright, so let's have a look at it. First one, okay, so if we're looking at this shape here. Now, the first thing I've got to tell you is that there is no one right way to do something like this. There's a bunch of different ways I can chop it up. Okay, I could, for instance, I could say, righto, there's a triangle and there's two rectangles, if you can kind of see that. But you might say, you know what, I'm going to go those two rectangles and that triangle. Cool. You might say, if you want to be really tricky, there's a trapezium with a rectangle glued on the end. Any of those ways will get you the right answer. Okay? I mean, if you want to do really special, you could say there's two trapeziums glued together. Okay? Either way, it doesn't matter. You're going to get the same answer if you do the maths right. Okay? Here's how I'm going to do it. I'm going to chop there and there. Okay, so I've got a triangle, which I'm going to call number 1. Okay, and I've got two rectangles, number 2, number 3. All right, so I've identified the individual shapes. So that's step 2 up here done. Now I've got to, sorry, that's step 1 done. Now I've got to do step 2, identify all the dimensions that are needed. All right, so let's look at from the edge here. I know everything I need to know about this little fella here because I've got that distance there and that distance there. Area of a rectangle is side by side. Boom, done. Excellent. This one here, I've got that dimension, but I don't have that dimension yet. How I'm going to get that is by adding that one and that one. Okay, so if I add those two up, I get 9.2. So that's that full distance there. So now I can find the area of that one, just side by side. Triangle. is base times height divided by 2. So I've got that side, but I need that bit there. Alright, so the 16.4 is from there to there. I've got 4.9 there, 5.5 there. If I subtract those two from 16.4, I get 6 meters. Okay, so I've got everything I need now. I've got the sides I need for this triangle, I've got the sides I need for this rectangle, and the sides I need for this rectangle. Okay, right on the diagram, just like I have. Alright, so now we just got to do the bits and pieces. So area 1, this one here, is base times height divided by 2. That is the simple A standard stuff. So base times height, as base times height divided by 2, and the magic buttons will tell you that that is 27.6 meters squared. Cool, so that's just that one there. Alright, now number 2. It's just a rectangle side by side. 4.9 times 9.2 is 45.08. Easy. Okay. Area 3, this little one here, is 5.5 times 4.2, and that is 23.1. Alright, so I found the area of each small shape. Now to get the total thing, all I've got to do is add them up. So my total is 27.6 plus 45.08 plus 23.1, which is 95.78 meters squared. Alright, in the assignment, that is a minimum working out that I'd be looking for. Okay, you can't just say this is the area. You've got to actually show me that you knew how to do this. If you're gunning for an A or a B, this is the sort of thing you've got to produce. Alright, now let's look at this next one here. If we sort of gaze upon it, we can see that we've got a big old rectangle with a smaller rectangle chopped out. So this is going to be the second type. I'm going to be subtracting this small rectangle from the big one. Now the good news is I don't need to do any maths to figure out the sides because I'm given the sides all up. Okay, so I'm going to call the big one number 1 and the small one is number 2. The small one is a void shape. It's an empty shape because I've cut that piece out. So this is going to be subtraction. So this is a bit simpler than that one up there. Alright, so area 1, that's easy, 8.2 times 6.7, which is 54.94 meters squared. Area 2, 4.4 times 1.8, which is 7.92 meters squared. Alright, so I've got the individual ones done. Now my total is going to be subtraction. I'm going to have area 1 subtract area 2 because area 2 has been chopped out. So that's 54.94 subtract 7.92, which according to the magic buttons is 47.02 meters squared. Okay, that is how you do compound shapes. You just need to think through what shapes can I chop it into, and keep in mind there's more than one way to do it. If we had a bit more information on this diagram, we could have said, you know what, I'm going to make it 3 rectangles. We don't quite have the information on it, we couldn't do that, but if this was your scale drawing, you could definitely do that if you really wanted to. Okay, there's more than one way to do these things, so long as you are setting it out really well and showing me exactly what you've done. Alright, well, this will set you up for the remainder of that worksheet.